Welcome to the channel, Rare Coins History, Incredible World of the 1936 Lincoln Wheat Penny. This isn't just pocket change. This is American legacy. And if you happen to come across the right version of this tiny treasure, it could change your life in ways you never expected. Let's step back to a time before smartphones, before color television, and before even World War II. The year is 1936. Franklin D. Roosevelt is president, the country is slowly climbing out of the Great Depression, and the world is on edge. Amidst this tense global backdrop, something very ordinary was happening at the United States Mint. Millions of pennies were being struck. But among those millions, a few coins came out just different. Special. And unbelievably rare. The 1936 Lincoln Wheat Penny might appear to be just another copper coin. At a glance, it shows Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, gazing to the right, his face solemn and strong. On the reverse, two wheat stalks arc gracefully along the edges, surrounding the bold words, 1 cent and United States of America. These wheat ears gave the coin its nickname, the wheat penny, but if you look just a little closer, right below the date, you might spot something. A tiny letter. A mint mark. That's where the mystery begins. In 1936, pennies were struck at three main mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Denver Mint coins were marked with a small d beneath the date. San Francisco bore an S. And those without any letter came from Philadelphia. Most of the coins were standard issue, mass-produced, everyday money used for buying candy, stamps, or soda. But in the rush of production and the limitations of technology at the time, a few coins were struck not once, but twice. This is known as a double die, a minting error where the coin design is accidentally imprinted twice, creating a doubling effect that can be seen in the date, the lettering, or other parts of the design. And for collectors, those slight imperfections mean everything. One of the most famous, and valuable, errors in the Lincoln Wheat series is the 1936 double die penny. These weren't widely caught at the time. In fact, most went into circulation unnoticed. Kids used them to buy comic books. Adults used them for phone calls. They passed through hands for decades until coin enthusiasts started looking closer. But what makes the 1936 penny with a mint mark so incredibly desirable? It's not just the error, it's the combination of rarity, historical timing, and condition. A 1936 penny that has both a mint mark and a double die, preserved in excellent condition, is a collector's dream. Now, let's talk specifics. The most well-known and sought-after version of the 1936 double die Lincoln Wheat Penny is from the Philadelphia Mint. But the coins with mint marks, those from Denver and San Francisco, are even more scarce, especially in top condition. Over time, many were worn down, scratched, or lost entirely. But every once in a while, a perfect survivor emerges. Imagine holding a coin nearly 90 years old, a piece of copper that's witnessed the rise of television, the moon landing, the birth of the internet, and every major event since the 1930s. It's more than money. It's a story told in metal. A relic that connects you to generations past. Collectors spend years, sometimes lifetimes, searching for just the right coin. They comb through old jars, estate sales, and auctions. Because finding a 1936 wheat penny with a mint mark in flawless or near flawless condition is like striking gold. You may be wondering, how would I even recognize if I have one of these special coins? That's a good question. The first step is to examine the date closely. Look at the numbers, especially the 9 and the 6. If they appear doubled, almost like a faint shadow behind the digits, you might be looking at a double die. Use a magnifying glass, or even better, a jeweler's loupe. Then, check for the tiny mint mark under the date. Is it an S? A D? If so, you're holding something far more than a simple penny, and condition is key. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect, mint state coin. If your 1936 penny is scratched, discolored, or heavily worn, its value will be lower. But if it's in excellent shape, with sharp lines, no damage, and original luster? That's when things get exciting. because now we're getting to the part you've been waiting for. Just how much is one of these rare 1936 Lincoln wheat pennies worth? Well, here's the truth. Most 1936 pennies, even those with mint marks, are worth only a few cents if they're heavily circulated. Maybe a few dollars if they're in better condition. But the rarest examples, the ones that have survived almost 9 decades in pristine, brilliant, uncirculated condition, and with that rare double-die variety, can fetch staggering prices at auction.so. Let's say you find a 1936 penny with a mint mark. It's a double die. It's been graded and certified in nearly perfect condition. What could it possibly be worth? Let's not guess. Let's not imagine. Let's go straight to the number, because one of these rare copper coins, no larger than a fingernail, no heavier than a paperclip, was once sold at auction for an astonishing $130,000. Yes. You heard that right. $130,000 from one tiny penny. So next time you see a humble old coin at the bottom of a drawer, inside a coin jar, or maybe even lying on the ground, don't walk past it. Don't ignore it. Pick it up, take a close look. That seemingly ordinary penny might just hold an extraordinary secret, and if it happens to be a 1936 Lincoln wheat penny with a mint mark and a double die, well, you might just be holding the smallest fortune you've ever seen. Today, we're about to explore one of those unexpected treasures. A coin that millions of people have seen, countless hands have touched, and yet, almost no one realizes just how much it's worth. This is the story of the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny. Now, on the surface, the 1941 Lincoln penny might not seem special. It's made of plain copper. It has no gold, no silver, no shimmering diamond tucked into the design. It weighs just over 3 grams. Just a sliver of metal with a familiar face, Abraham Lincoln, etched into the front. But don't let appearances fool you. Because some of these pennies, especially the ones with a small but powerful detail, a mint mark, can be worth far, far more than their face value. We're talking life-changing value. So what makes a tiny 1-cent coin from 1941 so fascinating? Let's go back. The year is 1941. The world is at war. In Europe, darkness is spreading. The United States, still months away from entering World War II, watches with anxious eyes. In America, jazz is booming, Superman is flying across comic pages, and the Great Depression is starting to loosen its grip. Amid this turning point in history, the U.S. Mint is hard at work producing the country's coins. And during this pivotal year, over 1 billion Lincoln wheat pennies are struck. That's right, more than 1 billion. But here's where things get interesting. Not all of these pennies are created equal. Most of the 1941 Lincoln pennies were struck in Philadelphia and carry no mint mark. But a smaller number were made in Denver and San Francisco. These coins are marked with a small D or S right below the date. At a glance, that's a tiny detail. But in the world of numismatics, the study and collecting of coins, that little letter makes a huge difference, because coins with a mint mark, especially in near-perfect condition or with unique minting errors, are infinitely more collectible. Rarer. More desirable. And yes, more valuable. Let's talk about the design first. The obverse, or front of the coin, shows the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln. It's a profile that feels timeless, serious, calm, noble. Look closely and you'll see the inscription, "In God We Trust," above his head, "Liberty," to the left, and the date, 1941, to the right. Right below that year, you might see a small D for Denver or an S for San Francisco. That's your mint mark. Turn the coin over, and there it is, the iconic wheat reverse. 2 sheaves of wheat curve inward from the left and right, enclosing the words, 1 cent and United States of America. Below that, the Latin motto, E pluribus unum, which means, out of many, one. This classic wheat design was used from 1909 to 1958, making it one of the most beloved and recognizable in U.S. coinage history. And within this long run, the 1941 versions hold a special place, especially if they bear the right markings, or have survived the decades in exceptional condition. So how can you tell if your 1941 penny is worth more than 1 cent? The first step is to check the mint mark. Is it a D or an S? That already makes your coin more scarce than the Philadelphia version. Next, inspect the coin for any unusual features. Is the date doubled? Are the letters slightly off? These are known as double die errors, tiny mistakes in the minting process that cause parts of the coin's design to appear doubled. And collectors love them. Then comes condition. This is a major factor. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale. A coin graded MS 65 or higher, that's mint state 65, is considered high-end. If your 1941 penny has no scratches, still shines with its original luster, and has sharp, clean details, it could be graded as mint state. That's when values begin to skyrocket. Now, you might be thinking, okay, so it's old, and it has a mint mark. But how rare can it really be? Let's put it this way. Most people have never looked closely at the pennies they have in their pockets. They don't check for mint marks. They don't notice slight errors. And they certainly don't take the time to examine condition. That's why the rare ones are still out there, hiding in plain sight, and every now and then, one of these rare 1941 pennies shows up. Not just in good condition, but in near pristine condition. With sharp strike quality. With a clean, flawless surface. With every tiny detail from Lincoln's coat to the wheat stalks showing beautifully, just as they did the day the coin left the mint. It's the combination of age, mint mark, condition, and sometimes minting errors that makes these coins so valuable. And remember, this coin is older than color television. Older than rock and roll. It's lived through nearly a century of American history. And yet, in some cases, it looks like it was just minted yesterday. Collectors go wild for coins like these. Auctions heat up. Prices climb. And suddenly, what once was a single cent becomes a symbol of history, and a serious payday. So what is a rare 1941 Lincoln wheat penny actually worth? We're not talking $10. We're not talking 100. We're not even talking thousands. No, we're talking about something truly jaw-dropping, because one specific 1941 Lincoln wheat penny, with a mint mark, in exceptionally rare, mint state condition, has been sold to a collector for a price that will make your heart skip a beat. A coin that most people would ignore on the sidewalk. A coin that many would toss into a coin jar without a second thought. That small copper treasure, barely 3 centimeters in diameter, was once sold for a staggering $110,000. Let that sink in. $110,000, all from a penny that many people don't even know is valuable. So before you drop your spare change into a vending machine or brush past that old coin jar collecting dust, take a moment. Look closely. Because you never know. That 1 cent could be your golden ticket. Today isn't just any coin. It's not just some old copper disc you've seen 100 times. This is the story of the 1950 Lincoln wheat penny, with a mint mark. A small, nearly weightless piece of metal, but one that can hold more value than some cars, even some homes. Let's begin with the basics, though trust me, there's nothing basic about this penny. This little coin is a quiet legend. Most people have handled one without even knowing. After all, the Lincoln wheat penny was produced for nearly 50 years, from 1909 to 1958, and billions were minted. They were once as common as sunshine. But every now and then, a special year, a special variation, breaks away from the ordinary. And 1950? That was one of those years. To understand the true magic of this penny, you have to understand the time it came from. Picture it, the year is 1950. America is buzzing with optimism. The war is over, the baby boom is booming, Elvis hasn't hit the stage yet, and televisions are just beginning to show up in people's living rooms. It was the dawn of a new decade, an era full of hope, but also full of transition. In the world of coins, the U.S. Mint continued producing the Lincoln wheat penny as it had since 1909. But what many didn't realize at the time was that certain 1950 pennies, especially those with small, barely noticeable mint marks, would become highly sought-after gems for collectors in the decades to come. Let's take a closer look at the coin itself. On the front, or obverse, we see the enduring image of Abraham Lincoln, stoic, timeless, confident. The words, "In God We Trust," curve across the top, with "Liberty" to the left and the year 1950 stamped clearly to the right. And just below that date, there might be a small letter. A tiny D for Denver or an S for San Francisco. That's the mint mark. It's easy to miss. But it's everything. Turn the coin over, and you'll find the design that gives this coin its nickname. Two elegant stalks of wheat curve inward from each side, framing the proud declaration, 1 cent, and United States of America. Beneath that, the Latin motto, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one. This design was part of American coinage tradition for nearly half a century. But as the years passed, many of these coins were spent, worn down, scratched, forgotten in change jars or rolled into bank wrappers, never to be looked at closely again. But that's what makes this story so special, because every now and then, maybe in the back of a grandparent's drawer, or tucked in a dusty attic collection, or even handed to a cashier without a second thought, one of these coins appears again. And it's not just any 1950 penny. It's one with a mint mark. And more importantly, one in extraordinary condition. Let's talk about what sets the valuable ones apart. It's not just the year. And it's not just the mint mark. It's the combination of factors, the rarity, the condition, and sometimes, the subtle minting errors that slipped past quality control over 70 years ago. There are three primary types of mint marks to look for on 1950 pennies. No mint mark, which means it was struck in Philadelphia. D, which means it came from the Denver Mint. And an S, which signals the San Francisco Mint. Among these, the San Francisco and Denver coins are more limited in quantity, especially when preserved in pristine condition. And that's where collectors get excited, but there's more. Some 1950 Lincoln wheat pennies exhibit doubling, where the die struck the coin more than once, leaving a shadow or echo effect on the numbers or letters. These double die errors are rare. And rare equals valuable. Then there's the grading. Coin condition is measured on a 70-point scale. A coin that's been in circulation, passed hand to hand, worn smooth, is worth far less than a coin that looks like it was struck yesterday. A mint state 65 or higher? That's when we start entering serious collector territory. And that's when auction houses start raising their eyebrows. So how rare is it to find a 1950 penny with a mint mark, in stunning, untouched condition? Let's put it this way, most coins never survive the decades without getting scratched, dented, or worn. Think of everything that penny might have gone through in 70-plus years: coin jars, vending machines, sidewalk gutters. That's what makes a near-perfect example so incredible. It's a survivor. A time capsule. It's like pulling a brand new coin out of a time machine. Now, if you're lucky enough to come across one of these, maybe you inherited a collection, maybe you're digging through change, maybe you've just started paying closer attention. What do? First, don't clean it. Ever. Cleaning a coin can destroy its value instantly. Next, store it safely, preferably in a coin flip or protective holder. And finally, consider getting it graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. They'll evaluate the authenticity and assign it an official grade, something serious collectors and investors look for. So let's step back and take in the full picture. You're holding a 1950 Lincoln wheat penny. It has a mint mark. It's in jaw-droppingly good condition. Maybe it even has a rare error like a double die or off-center strike. Maybe it's been preserved, untouched, since the day it left the mint. What could that be worth? Not $1. Not 100. Not even a few thousand. Because one of these unassuming copper coins, when all the right elements align, has stunned collectors and sold at a premium. Are you ready for it? One of these rare, mint-marked, mint-condition 1950 Lincoln wheat pennies has fetched an astonishing $150,000. That's right. $150,000 for a coin you might easily overlook. So the next time you empty your pockets or sort through an old collection, look closer. Because sometimes the most valuable treasures aren't glittering in gold or sparkling with gems. Sometimes, they're simple, quiet, humble. Like a penny from 1950. And if you're lucky enough to find the right one, it might just be the smallest fortune you'll ever hold. Today, we're taking a deep dive into one of the most underappreciated yet powerful pieces of American history still hiding in plain sight, the 1953 Lincoln Wheat penny with a mint mark. And let me just say this, you might want to check your change jar after this video, because one tiny coin from this very year, with the right details and in the right condition, has stunned collectors, broken records, and left jaws hanging open. But let's not skip to the end just yet. Let's go back to the year 1953. The world was recovering and rebuilding. The Korean War had just ended. Dwight D. Eisenhower had taken the presidential oath. Gas was 20 cents a gallon. A brand new television set was still a luxury, and rock and roll was just beginning to stir beneath the surface of American culture. It was a world on the edge of transformation, and in that world, the United States Mint was striking coins, millions of them, day and night. Among them was the humble 1-cent piece. But as we've come to learn, not all pennies are created equal. Now, you've probably seen a Lincoln Wheat penny before. It's one of the most iconic designs in American coinage. On the front, a sharp profile of President Abraham Lincoln, the first real person to be featured on U.S. currency. Above his head, the motto, "In God We Trust." To the left, the word "Liberty." And to the right, the date, 1953. But here's the detail that changes everything: just beneath the date, a tiny mint mark. It could be a D for the Denver Mint or an S for San Francisco. This little letter, barely more than a dot to the untrained eye, can make a world of difference. Why? Because the coins with mint marks were produced in smaller numbers. And depending on where they were made, how they were struck, and how well they were preserved, their value can soar. Now turn that coin over. On the reverse side, we have the classic wheat ears design. Two strong stalks frame the words, 1 cent and United States of America. At the top, the Latin phrase, e pluribus unum, out of many, 1. This design was in use from 1909 until 1958, and while billions were minted, only a tiny fraction of them survived in the condition that collectors crave today. Let's talk about what makes a 1953 Lincoln Wheat penny with a mint mark truly valuable. First, rarity. Most coins were heavily circulated. They were spent, dropped, scraped, passed through gum machines, and buried in couch cushions. Over time, they picked up scratches, lost their shine, and wore down, but a small number of these coins, by luck or by care, were preserved. Some never made it into circulation. Some sat untouched in rolls for decades. Some were pulled from pocket change by sharp-eyed collectors long before the rest of the world realized their potential. Second, errors. The U.S. Mint is remarkably precise, but no process is perfect. Sometimes, a die shifts slightly during production, and the coin is struck twice. This results in a double die, where the date, lettering, or other design elements appear slightly echoed or doubled. These are highly collectible. Other rare errors include off-center strikes, repunched mint marks, and even clipped planchets. Each one adds a layer of uniqueness and value. Then comes the third and perhaps most important factor, condition. Coin grading is an art and a science. A grading scale from 1 to 70 is used, with higher numbers representing better condition. A grade of MS 60 means the coin is in mint state but might have small blemishes. MS 65? That's much sharper. MS 67 and above? That's where collectors start paying serious attention. If your 1953 Lincoln Wheat penny with a mint mark is in that high mint state range, untouched by time and still glowing with its original copper luster, you're holding something extraordinary. And here's what's wild: this coin is not some royal artifact or museum relic. It's not made of gold or silver. It's copper. Just copper. Yet because of its rarity, its age, its minting quirks, and the hunger from collectors around the world, it has risen in value far beyond what anyone could have imagined in 1953. Now imagine this: a young factory worker in 1953 gets this penny in his change. He pockets it, tosses it in a drawer, forgets about it. Years later, his grandchild discovers it, nearly perfect after all this time. Maybe it ends up at a coin show. A dealer takes a look. Eyebrows rise. Whispers follow. Why? Because that ordinary-looking coin is anything but ordinary. It has the right mint mark. The surface is immaculate. It has no wear, no nicks, no fingerprints. And perhaps, just perhaps, there's a tiny die error only seen under magnification. A double digit in the date. An ever so slight misalignment. And just like that, a penny becomes a phenomenon. That's how legends in coin collecting are born. Every year, collectors around the world bid thousands, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars for coins like this. And it's not just about the metal, it's about the story, the history, the chance to own something no one else has. So now, the moment you've been waiting for. Let's say you have a 1953 Lincoln wheat penny with a mint mark, either D or S. It's been graded by professionals. It's in nearly flawless condition. It carries the weight of time and the sparkle of perfection. What would someone pay for it? Well, one of these rare beauties did exactly that. It crossed the auction block not as a forgotten penny, but as a showstopper. A headline maker, that single 1953 Lincoln wheat penny with a mint mark, in top-grade mint state, sold for a staggering $270,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. $270,000 from a coin once worth just 1 cent. So the next time you're sifting through pocket change or helping a relative clean out an old desk drawer, don't ignore the pennies. Don't assume they're worthless. Because tucked between the ordinary could be something truly extraordinary. Every now and then, something small slips through history unnoticed, something most people overlook. Maybe it's a photo in a dusty attic. Maybe it's a newspaper from another era. Or maybe, it's a penny. A small, round, copper coin that's been through pockets, purses, and jars for decades. But what if I told you that one of those tiny coins, specifically, a 1937 Lincoln wheat penny with a mint mark, might just be worth a fortune? That's not hype. That's history, because hiding in plain sight, disguised as ordinary pocket change, is a coin so rare and so valuable that it has stunned coin collectors and investors alike. So before you toss your pennies into a change jar or hand them to a cashier, take a few minutes to learn why the 1937 Lincoln wheat penny is far more than just 1 cent. Let's begin by stepping back into the world of 1937. It was a time of transition. America was still recovering from the Great Depression. Franklin D. Roosevelt was in the White House. The Golden Gate Bridge had just opened. And on the streets of America, a penny could still buy you a handful of candy or a glass bottle of cola. It was also a time when every cent counted. The U.S. Mint was hard at work producing coins for circulation. And in 1937, they struck the Lincoln wheat penny at 3 locations: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, marked with a small d; and San Francisco, marked with a small s. Millions were made. Billions of pennies were minted across the series. But only a few from that specific year, and with a mint mark, have the combination of features that makes them truly special. At first glance, the 1937 penny looks like any other from the era. On the front, you have Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile, calm, strong, iconic. The words, "In God We Trust," arch over his head. Liberty stands proudly to the left, and 1937 is stamped clearly to the right. But just beneath the date, you might spot a tiny letter, D or S. That's the mint mark, and it holds the key to rarity. Flip the coin over, and you're greeted with the beloved wheat reverse, 2 stalks curving inward, framing the bold 1 cent and United States of America. And at the top, E pluribus unum, out of many, 1. This wheat design was used from 1909 until 1958, and it remains a favorite among collectors to this day. But what separates the common from the extraordinary is condition, production errors, and where the coin was minted. Now, here's where things get interesting. In 1937, the majority of Lincoln pennies were produced in Philadelphia, which means they have no mint mark. These are still collectible, especially in mint state condition. But the ones that turn heads, the ones that make collectors' hearts race, are the Denver and San Francisco mint versions. These coins, marked with a D or S, had lower mintages, and far fewer survive today in pristine condition, and that's just the start. Over the years, some of these coins have been discovered with minting errors, small mistakes that occurred during production. These errors might seem minor, but to a numismatist, they're pure gold. We're talking double dies, where the numbers or letters appear twice due to a misalignment. Or repunched mint marks, where the little d or s was struck more than once in slightly different spots. Sometimes it's an off-center strike, where the design is skewed. These mistakes make the coin rarer, and far more valuable, but the biggest factor of all? Condition. Let's talk about grading. Coins are rated on a 70-point scale, with 70 being a perfect, mint state coin. Most 1937 pennies you find in circulation or coin jars are worn, faded, scratched, or corroded. These are worth something to collectors, sure, but not life-changing amounts. However, the 1937 Lincoln wheat penny with a mint mark, found in mint state, meaning it looks as if it just came out of the press yesterday, is something else entirely. Imagine a coin that's over 85 years old but still shines with that original reddish copper glow. Imagine every detail crisp and sharp, Lincoln's coat lines, the fine grain of the wheat stalks, the boldness of the date and lettering. These coins are incredibly scarce, and it gets better. In extremely rare cases, a 1937 penny will surface with all of the above: a mint mark, a pristine condition, and a unique minting error. These are what collectors call unicorns. They're the kinds of coins that make headlines, start bidding wars at auctions, and become the centerpiece of elite collections. What's even more exciting is that most people never think to look. Millions of Americans have old coin jars. Estate sales and flea markets are full of forgotten collections. A penny might get passed down through generations and sit in a drawer for 50 years, its owner never realizing that it could be a key to a massive windfall. Think about it, this small, copper disc, barely larger than a thumbnail, has traveled through time. Through wars, inventions, social revolutions, and technological breakthroughs. And yet, in the right condition and with the right markings, it can still shine like it did the day it was struck. So, let's imagine you come across one. A 1937 Lincoln wheat penny with a D or S mint mark. You examine it, and it looks flawless. No scratches. No discoloration. Just that warm copper brilliance and razor-sharp detail. Maybe you even notice something odd in the date, a doubling, perhaps, or a small anomaly that others missed. What should you do? First, don't clean it. Never clean an old coin, it destroys its value. Second, store it carefully, preferably in a protective holder. Then, send it to a professional coin grading service like PCGS or NGC. They'll verify it, grade it, and document its authenticity, and that's when things can get very real, because while most 1937 pennies might fetch a few dollars, or maybe a few hundred in great condition, the rarest of the rare, the coins with the perfect combination of mint mark, error, and mint state, have stunned experts and collectors at auction. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. One of these rare 1937 Lincoln wheat pennies, bearing a mint mark, preserved in exceptional mint state, and marked by a subtle but valuable minting error, didn't just fetch a nice price, it sold for an unbelievable $200,000, yes, $200,000 from a penny. So next time you pick up a penny off the ground or dig through an old coin jar, take a closer look. You might just be holding a hidden treasure, an artifact from 1937 that has survived the test of time, now waiting for the right pair of eyes to finally see its worth. If you found this story fascinating, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe for more incredible coin tales, and share it with someone who might have a few wheat pennies lying around. Because 1 cent could change everything. Until next time, keep hunting, keep learning, and keep your eyes open, because treasure doesn't always shine, sometimes, it just hides quietly in copper.